it was a quiet afternoon at Braum's, the place where the biggest decision should be chocolate or vanilla, not fight or flight. But on April 7th, 2024, one shopper's routine stop took a bizarre and violent turn. A suspect lurked among the aisles before launching into an unprovoked attack. And if that wasn't strange enough, just wait until you hear that she looked like she stepped straight out of a sci-fi movie. Welcome to Capers and Cocktails, a true crime podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously and gives you something to enjoy while you listen. The following content may be disturbing to some. Discretion is advised. If you're enjoying one of our themed cocktails, ensure you're of legal drinking age and have fun, but drink responsibly. Braum's traces its roots back to 1933, when Henry Braum opened a small butter processing plant in Emporia, Kansas during the Great Depression. Over the decades, the family business expanded, first into milk processing, then ice cream, and eventually a chain of retail stores called Peter Pan Ice Cream. In 1968, after selling that brand, Bill Braum opened the first Braum store in Oklahoma City, shifting operations south due to a non-compete clause in Kansas. By the 1970s, the company had moved its entire dairy herd to Oklahoma, pioneering a vertically integrated system where every step, from farming to retail, remained in-house. Today, Braum's remains a family-run business, continuing a century-old tradition in dairy production. Yeah, that was a little bit of an ad for Braum's, I guess. I don't know. But if you've never been to Braum's, the first thing you'll need to know for this case is that Braum's is both a fast food chain and a mini grocery store all in one place. Today's case takes place on the grocery store side. Another thing you should know is that I have never, not one time, been to a Braum's where that grocery side was ever regularly staffed. I always have to wait for someone to come check me out on that side. They're usually pretty small locations, so you can kind of see from the fast food side to the grocery side, but there's almost never anyone actually on the grocery store side or grocery mart. It's really small. But enough about Braum's. Let's drink. And not to give too much away about today's caper, my cocktail conspirators, but the cocktail and mocktail are called the Smurf. The cocktail includes one of my favorite spirits, blue curacao, to make it as blue as Papa Smurf himself. Blue curacao is a vibrant, citrus-flavored liqueur with a slight bitterness, made from the dried peel of the Laraja orange, a variety narrative of the Caribbean island of Curacao. It was first developed in the 19th century by a Dutchman named Henri Boot, who sought to create a unique drink using the island's native fruit. Combine the blue curacao with vodka, or in the case of the mocktail, non-alcoholic vodka, lemonade, and pineapple juice, and this makes for a delicious spring or summer treat. Just stay away from Braum's if you've had one too many of these. Okay, back to the Braum's. It all went down on April 7th, 2024, in the parking lot of Braum's, that popular fast food and grocery chain in the region. Police say an elderly woman was just going about her day when she was followed inside the store, harassed, and ultimately mugged in the parking lot. And the person responsible? Well, she appeared to be, bright blue. Yeah, blue. So let's rewind. Surveillance footage from inside the Braum's near Southeast 71st and Shields in Oklahoma City captures a suspect wandering the aisles, closely watching an elderly woman who at one point was simply looking at a loaf of bread. And that's when it started. Out of nowhere, the suspect turned to the woman and yelled, quote, "What are you looking at?" End quote. The elderly woman, understandably startled, wasn't even looking at her, just at the bread, but that didn't seem to matter. The suspect, sporting striking purple hair and a Smurf-like complexion, continued to follow her through the store, out of the store, and into the parking lot. Then things took a bit of a violent turn. Oklahoma City Police Department Master Sergeant Gary Knight described what happened next. Quote, "This woman was simply minding her own business when she was attacked, punched in the face, knocked to the ground, and then had her items stolen." End quote. Yikes. The victim later told a store clerk that she believed the suspect had been trying to steal something inside the store. Whether or not that's true, we do know this. The suspect followed her outside, demanded her wallet, then punched her so hard that she fell into a nearby truck. She took the woman's belongings and ran. And then, just like that, she was gone. She hopped into a waiting black Kia K5 with a male driver and sped off. Now, the good news is that the elderly woman wasn't seriously injured. But, as Sergeant Knight put it, quote, "It was a very upsetting thing to have happened. Somebody demanding your items, and you get punched to the face like that, knocked to the ground, and to have somebody walk up and steal your stuff and drive off," end quote. That's why police are asking the public for help. They've got the surveillance footage, and despite the weirdly blue appearance of the suspect, they believe somebody out there can identify her. Sergeant Gary would say, quote, "This is someone we want to get identified. Get them off the streets," end quote. The video, taken just moments before the attack, is clear enough to provide a decent look at the suspect. You know, aside from the fact that she looks like she walked off the set of Avatar, and she's wearing a crop top, and her whole stomach is also blue. As someone who did a lot of theater as a kid, I'm telling you, it's not face paint. It's either a malfunctioning camera or this, my friends, is what happens when you ingest too much colloidal silver. Colloidal silver is a suspension of tiny silver particles in liquid, often marketed as a natural remedy. People take it for a variety of supposed health benefits, including boosting the immune system, fighting infections, and even treating chronic conditions. However, there's not really any scientific evidence to support these claims. And the FDA has warned against its use as a medical treatment. And what happens when you take too much colloidal silver? Well, you turn blue. This condition, called argyria, happens when the silver builds up in the body and reacts with light, much like how silver compounds were once used in photography. Over time, the skin develops a bluish-gray tint that doesn't go away. While argyria itself isn't harmful, it's permanent. One of the most well-known cases of argyria from colloidal silver was Paul Carrison, often called Papa Smurf. He started taking homemade colloidal silver to treat skin issues and other ailments, but after years of use, he developed another skin issue. His skin turned a permanent bluish gray. He died in 2013. Another blue-tinged person you might recognize is Mother God herself from the Love Has Won cult that we talked about in a previous Capers and Cocktails season. There's a possible other reason this girl might appear blue on the security cameras. There is a very rare blood condition called, here we go, methemoglobinemia. Yep, it's passed down through a recessive gene. Folks with this blood condition also look blue. There's a whole family, the Blue Fugates of Kentucky, who live in an isolated pocket of Appalachia, and they have passed down this recessive gene for generations. And get this, there was a man named Kerry Green who was known as the Blue Baby, born in 1964 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. His family was given little hope that he would live because of a malformed aorta. Ugh. He has the same disorder as the Blue Fugates, and you guessed it, he's blue. He did survive. He grew up. He got married. He had 2 children, one of whom would have been 39 in 2024, but the other would have been 27. Close to that girl's age. But they all live in Seattle now, and the kids aren't blue. I had you there for a second, though, right? I had me there for a second, too. Imagine if we could solve this crime. Cocktail conspirators, this is your moment to shine. Do I have any listeners or viewers in Oklahoma? It can't be that hard to spot a blue woman. If she is blue and it's not just the camera, I don't know. As you can probably guess, this is not the first or only crime with a rather, strange disguise. Even this season, we had some dudes who thought that Sharpies would be a proper mask. Remember them? On July 20th, 2019, in Westminster, California, drivers on the 405 freeway witnessed a truly unhinged sight. A BMW crawling along at 2 miles per hour with a chainsaw-wielding clown perched on the roof. When police tried to pull him over, the clown hit the gas, leading them on a chase through Los Angeles from the 405 to the 90 freeway and eventually to Venice Beach. At one point, he climbed back onto the roof mid-pursuit to make dramatic gestures, because why not? After ditching the car, he took time to help bury a stranger in the sand before stripping off his shirt and running into the ocean, where cops finally reeled him in. In the early hours of October 26, 2014, Lehigh University student Therese Owens Jr. decided to break into his friend's house in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, for reasons unknown, and dress up as Lala, the yellow Teletubby. After busting down a door, he ignored valuables and instead made a beeline for the fridge, where he scooped up Chinese food and stashed it in his man purse before leaving. Police tracked down the mischievous Teletubby, but his friend didn't press charges until the landlord got involved. As Bethlehem's police chief put it, quote, "Not that many Teletubbies get arrested. You can't make it up," end quote. And in another random assault, an 18-year-old near Auburn University found himself on the wrong end of a fairy's fist at 4:30 a.m. on November 1st, 2018. For reasons unknown, a man in a fairy costume approached, delivered a jaw-breaking punch, and then fluttered off into the night. Police later identified the winged warrior as 19-year-old John David Wood, who was arrested on November 7th for felony assault. He traded his fairy wings for a $25,000 bond and a stay in the Lee County Jail. Yeah, don't punch people. What is happening? Usually it's the criminal wearing disguises, but there are at least a few cases where the law got in on the fun. Just this year, at Sao Paulo's Carnival, police dressed as Mario and Luigi took down a suspected thief, proving that even in law enforcement, it's all about leveling up. Days earlier, another squad dressed up as Power Rangers, dramatically arresting a phone thief, while the governor gleefully declared morphing time. Meanwhile, in Peru, an officer went full method actor, donning a capybara costume to bust a drug dealer on Valentine's Day, because nothing says romance like getting tackled by a giant rodent. Anyway, back to today's case. Unfortunately, it is unsolved, at least as far as I could dig, and I dug pretty deep. After late April of 2024, there's no news about this blue woman being arrested or located. And without a name, I can't even research court records because unfortunately, I don't think this woman's name was Smurfette, Sassette, Weepy Smurf, Snappy Smurf, or even Greedy Smurf. Those are real Smurfs, if you didn't know. I did not know. Anyway. Although our Smurf was both a snappy and a greedy Smurf. Sadly, she was not an arrested Smurf, at least not yet. In Oklahoma, the statute of limitations for assault and battery is 3 years. This means that prosecutors have 3 years from the date of the crime to file charges against the currently free Smurf. I am honestly still baffled how they could not find a very obviously blue woman, because I think she would stick out quite a bit. But as it is, greedy, snappy Smurf should probably stay out of the limelight and Braum's for at least the next 2 years, maybe forever. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm not kidding, cocktail conspirators. It's time for us to enter our crime-solving era. Go find the Smurf. Oklahoma City police are urging anyone with information to call the Crime Stoppers line. If you recognize the blue-tinted suspect, help the authorities track her down before she strikes again, literally. We're off next week, but in 2 weeks, we are going to hop over the pond to a very historical case. In fact, we are covering the original Italian job. Which job, you might ask? Well, you're gonna have to wait for 2 weeks to find out. Grab the ingredients for a Bellini when you're at the store, and hit like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube if you're not already. Also, check out socials for crime memes, Blue Sky, Threads, Insta, and Facebook. I'm still on TikTok too while it's around, but since I film and upload these in batches, who knows the state of TikTok when you are hearing this? I'll see you in 2 weeks, and remember, don't drink colloidal silver and don't punch old ladies in the Braum's parking lot. There are plenty of alternatives to that nonsense.